Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors and sponsored by WorkHuman. Thanks for joining me for your quick briefing on what's important in the world of work. My name is Steve Boese. Today on the show, we're diving into the controversy surrounding the announcement of changes to the H-1B visa process. What if employers were suddenly forced to pay $100,000 per application to hire a skilled foreign worker? That's not a misstatement or a typo. That steep new fee could reshape tech staffing, recruitment, immigration, and the lives of tens of thousands of applicants. Stick around. You're going to want to understand what this means, who it helps, who it hurts, and what HR leaders should be doing right now. The H-1B visa program has been a central pillar of U.S. immigration for high-skilled foreign workers for decades. It was formally established in 1990 under the Immigration Act as a category for specialty occupations, jobs that require at least a bachelor's degree or an equivalent in a specialized field. Since then, Congress has imposed an annual cap on how many H-1B visas can be granted in a year. Currently, there are 65,000 visas available under the regular cap, plus an additional 20,000 for foreign nationals who hold a U.S. master's degree or higher. Many employers are also exempt from the cap, such as universities and other nonprofits. Who applies and who receives these? Well, typically tech companies, engineering firms, universities, healthcare facilities, and others in STEM or specialized roles sponsor H-1B applicants. Nationals from India are a large share of H-1B recipients, along with workers from other countries with robust STEM and IT graduate populations. Because demand usually far exceeds supply, there is a lottery system to allocate the cap-subjected visas. So here's what could be changing under the new proclamation, signed on September 19th by the Trump administration. A $100,000 fee would be required for new H-1B visa petition applications for workers outside the U.S. when filed, starting as soon as September 21st. This fee is in addition to existing fees like lottery registration fees, petition filing fees. But it won't apply to current H-1B visa holders, including those outside the U.S. who are returning. Renewals are clarified to be exempt from the fees. And this rule also directs the Department of Labor to raise prevailing wage levels for H-1B workers and increase the scrutiny and enforcement to prevent misuse of the system. Now, this kind of change would have ripple effect in many places. For companies, it means massive cost increases. If a company sponsors multiple new H-1B applicants in a year, the cumulative extra cost could run into the millions. HR budgets will be stressed, especially for startups or smaller firms that rely heavily on overseas skilled labor. Some firms may reduce H-1B hiring or shift their strategies by hiring fewer foreign workers. They may look to remote work abroad or lean in more into automation. Also, adjusting compensation to meet the new wage rules will raise internal compensation costs more broadly. And for individuals, for those hoping to come to the U.S. on an H-1B for the first time, the $100,000 barrier may make many job offers less viable. Employers might pass the cost on, offer fewer or lower salaried H-1B positions, or simply avoid hiring someone who requires an H-1B. For foreign nationals outside the U.S., especially early career workers or recent grads, opportunities could shrink dramatically. And what does this mean for innovation? Well, tech, healthcare, higher education, and the R&D sectors could all suffer some talent shortages. U.S. competitiveness in areas where global talent has been a key driver, like in AI, biotech, they might be harmed. Also, talent may flow to other countries with more favorable immigration schemes, making the U.S. less attractive to top international STEM graduates. And there could be some foreign relations impacts. This has already triggered protest and criticism from India, which sends the U.S. the largest share of H-1B workers. Other countries are likely to follow, and it could affect bilateral ties, induce retaliation, and otherwise raise diplomatic tension. And it also harms the U.S.'s images among global skilled professionals as a place for opportunity. And finally, just uncertainty. When the rules change so abruptly and dramatically, companies face uncertainty. Exactly how will new petitions be defined? What exemptions might there be? How will wage rules change? And how will enforcement look? And litigation is likely, which can produce delays and additional confusion. So sometimes when these kinds of changes are suggested, it's important to know who's for them and who's against them. Supporters of these changes include those who argue the H-1B program has been abused. Employers using foreign labor to undercut U.S. workers' wages, outsourcing firms, those who believe stricter rules will force investment in the domestic workforce. Political groups concerned about immigration levels and economic competition also back these rules, and the administration frames this as protecting American workers and combating abuse. Opponents of this proposal include tech companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, universities, some healthcare institutions, and other employers that rely on H-1B workers. Also, immigrant advocacy groups and foreign governments are against these changes. Their arguments: the fee is prohibitively high, it will discourage investment, slow down growth, reduce innovation, and it may violate legal norms. And it will disproportionately harm early career workers and smaller employees who can't afford these fees. And finally, it damages the U.S.'s ability to attract global talent. So if you lead HR or are involved in global talent acquisition and H-1Bs are a part of your workforce mix, this is what you should have on your radar and start acting on now. First, audit your H-1B pipeline. How many new H-1B hires did you expect in the coming year who are now outside the U.S.? And you should estimate the financial impact of these fees. Next, build contingency plans. If some roles become too expensive under the new rules, which ones can you delay, which ones can be filled domestically, and which roles might shift to remote or offshore operations? 3, legal and compliance readiness. Keep close tabs on further guidance from the government. This will likely be rulemaking, clarifications, maybe court challenges. Consider consulting immigration legal counsel now to understand exemptions and other waivers. And finally, communication. Be clear with your foreign candidates about potential changes and uncertainties, and try to avoid surprises. If you have current H-1B holders or those in process, make sure they're informed, especially if their travel or their status might be affected. And finally, lobby or advocate for your position. Companies can band together via trade associations or the Chamber of Commerce to push for mitigation or carve-outs, clarification, revisions of the fee, or other countermeasures. Having said all that, here's where I roll my eyes a little. Once again, we have a situation where regulation seems to be the favorite sport of this administration. New fees, executive orders, massive overhauls, often with ambiguity around implementation. It's like playing whack-a-mole if you're a compliance team, where just when you think you understand the rules, boom, someone moves the goalposts again. What I find especially frustrating is the lack of stable policy for businesses. HR teams plan long-term, hiring, budgets, recruitment. When the rules shift so sharply, the cost is not just in dollars, but in trust, employer brand, and candidate morale. And for a country that claims it wants to be the top destination for global talent, throwing up giant financial walls and regulatory chaos doesn't exactly inspire confidence. So in short, if the new $100,000 fee for H-1B applicants or new external applicants is a game changer. If this stands, its ripple effects will be felt by companies, prospective employers, and U.S. competitiveness. HR leaders should buckle up, run the numbers, get legal advice, explore alternatives, and hopefully get some more clarity, or a last-minute set of changes. Because in this game, vague proclamations and shifting rules seem to be the only constant. That's it for the show today. Thanks so much for listening, and a big thank you to WorkHuman for supporting the Workplace Minute. If this episode made you think about how your organization is balancing compliance with your people practices, please share it with a colleague. I'm Steve Boese, and this has been the Workplace Minute from H3 HR Advisors.